Hey, I'm going to leave tomorrow. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here, extremely busy somehow. And today I'm going to be doing a movie roundup video where I talk about the movies, TV shows, and animes I watched in July 2025. So yeah, I have been busy again. Even though I had some rest in June, well, I've been busy again. I came back to Hong Kong. I also went to Anime Expo before I came back to Hong Kong, and now I'm about to go travel again. So I unfortunately don't have a lot of time to watch many movies and many TV shows and many animes like I always want to. But to start off in July, to start off cynically, I watched Fat Girl, or Amasseur, by Catherine Breillat. This is a really simple film that feels like a French B-picture low-budget drama until literally the second scene where an adult starts manipulating a young underage girl into kissing him. What comes next is some of the most disgusting and gross and upsetting things I've ever seen in a film, and not in a showy way, but in a very brutally real way. Like Breillat had seen enough of those charismatic man meets young woman in a vacation French films, you know what I'm talking about, Eric Romer, and decided to make the most fucked up response. And this is done so not to just offend us, but Breillat is actually illustrating a point on how the average person perceives sexual violence, and she does so in a very provocative way. It's not for everyone, but I didn't enjoy this film, but it was it illustrates a point and it sticks in my head. 8 out of 10. Then I went to Anime Expo and I watched the, I believe, American premiere of Sanda, episode 1. It is a new show. It is from Itakagi Paru of Beastars, and it is fantastic. It's funny, weird, crazy, and it's also very topical to modern Japan with its low fertility rate problem, and I just love stories that take place in the near future. 8 out of 10. Following that, the next day, I believe, I watched the summer... Oh no, actually, on the same day, I watched The Summer Hikaru Died, episode 1. This is based off of manga by Mokumokuren, and it's world premiere, baby! Cannes Film Festival is so back, and it's a bunch of sweaty weebs. And honestly, this is quite enjoyable. It's structurally so interesting because it defies the usual Hollywood TV pilot structure. I'm gonna quote my letterbox here. What is your average high school fantasy horror show is elevated by its cinematic sensibilities, the way the establishing shots segue into mediums and close-ups, and the use of sound design evoke a similar spacey ennui in Koreeda's Monster, while the creepier moments lean further into atmosphere like the director just binge-watched a bunch of Kiyoshi Kurosawa. 8 out of 10. Okay, following that, I watched In a Lonely Place by Nicholas Ray. My friend dared me to watch more classic Hollywood, so guess what? That's what I did. This film starts off as a gritty film noir, but then turns into a character study psychodrama. The editing and the cinematography wise, it's honestly pretty plain in one note, kind of disappointing, but Humphrey Bogart does such a good job playing a toxic lover, it's scary. And also, please never get into a relationship with a filmmaker because they are psychos. 8 out of 10. Then I watched the film Stoker by Park Chan-wook on my usual binge of Park Chan-wook films before his new film No Other Choice releases. Honestly, this script is kinda dog shit, and the film is completely carried by its insanely good directing. I love the fragmented editing, the intimate close-ups, the awkward wide angles, the scene transitions, oh my god. The production design is also great with how many props are used in such weird ways. Honestly, it's such an underrated film, and I totally rewatched this in a heartbeat. 8 out of 10. Okay, so I hopped onto a plane from LA to Hong Kong, and you know what I did? I watched Fallen Angels for the 5th time, and it's a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Then, after I arrived in Hong Kong, the first film I saw was Valley of the Shadow of Death. This is a really good new Hong Kong film that no one's talking about. Plot-wise, it's still kind of safe and not that groundbreaking, but there's just so much artsiness in the cinematography and the disjointed structure that it intrigued me. I like the exploration of moral ambiguity, the crisis in faith, etc. Yeah, the dialogue is kind of corny and straightforward sometimes, but I do read it as comedic, and I wish the film is funnier. 7 out of 10. Then I watched My Blueberry Nights by Wong Kar-wai, and I have finally completed all Wong Kar-wai films. And this one is his worst film so far. You know, honestly, there's a lot of great things about this film, like its colors and its refreshing setting of America. And also, this is a surprisingly safe and inoffensive plot for Wong Kar-wai, surprisingly accessible. He dumbed it down for American audiences, and you know what? I don't blame him. Norah Jones is kind of bad, and America is just a very weird setting that just doesn't fit Wong Kar-wai's way of writing characters. But he still uses distance and food to create romance, which is still pretty cute, 6 out of 10. Then I watched Thunderbolts, and it was alright. It was kind of fun, kind of entertaining. The villains are cool, 7 out of 10. Then I finally watched All We Imagine Is Light by Payal Kapadia. The first half of the film is a beautiful homage to Mumbai at night, and the jazzy music makes it so enchanting and dazzling. This is also a very compelling slice of life drama with a lot of contrasting traditions versus modernity a la Ozu. The second half paled a bit in comparison, but there's also something so genuine and soulful and human about it. Really enjoyed this one, 8 out of 10. Then I watched Last Year at Marienbad by Alain René. This is way more inaccessible and avant-garde than I thought. It's an insane, mind-breaking, super confusing, constantly overlapping and rewriting non-existent love story. The hotel in this film is turned into this eerie, hellish echo chamber where all the mirrors and hallways feel like they come out of a dream. I absolutely love that. There's not a lot of build-up, so it feels less like an emotional state, more so just a feeling, which is less appealing than something like Persona or Inland Empire. But this is still a very masterful film that deconstructs the film structure, and I expect to like it more on a rewatch. 9 out of 10. Light 9. Okay, I went to the cinemas. Oh my god, the construction. Perfect timing. Thank you. Oh my god. Okay, who cares? I'm gonna continue. So I watched F1 in the cinema, and honestly, it's a really fun, feel-good movie, but that's it. The racing sequences are very exciting and well shot, but the rest is kind of forgettable, 6 out of 10. Then I watched Pi by Darren Aronofsky, and so much of this film is really cool, but I feel like it didn't take anything away from this film. It feels more like a student film that's desperate to show off its cool editing and special effects than something that's really, really from the heart. The premise itself isn't really that interesting or inviting, and I never really cared for the plot or any of the characters, but there's a lot of amazing sequences and some great scenes here and there, 7 out of 10. Then I watched Squid Game Season 3, and it's brutally depressing, and so much so that it kind of takes the fun out of the last season. The writing is sometimes clever, sometimes really sloppy and bad. The characters are also not that great, and the ending is kind of weird, but also kind of makes sense, 6 out of 10. Then I watched Superman yesterday, and I had a blast, and I enjoyed it. The characters are fun, the villains are fun, the movie is smart and knows what it's doing. I highly recommend it, 8 out of 10. Then, just about half an hour ago, I finished watching A Bride for Rip Van Winkle by E.Y. Shinji. It took me 4 fucking sittings to finish this film because it's so goddamn long. It's a 3-hour film that is basically a journey through the life of this very poor woman. The film is very tender but cruel. There's the usual Japanese digital cleanliness, but the cleanliness adds to the crushing loneliness of the characters. The first half and the second half feel like 2 different films, but I do like how self-indulgent E.Y. Shinji has become. You know what? Just go off, King, and write whatever you like. I also really like that there's a documentary feel to it, the way the camera is so handheld, and the jump cuts make it feel so natural. The characters feel so real, and the soundtrack is drop dead gorgeous. I mean, E.Y. Shinji needs to share me his classical music playlist because this film packs some heat. 9 out of 10. And aside from that, I've also been watching 3 episodes, and after tonight, hopefully 4 episodes of a Chinese drama called The Story of Yangtze Palace, and it's worse than I thought. Like, the lighting is bad, the dialogue is annoying, and the characters came straight out of a cartoon. Honestly, I'm only watching it to research Beijing and its history, because, you'll know soon. But yeah, that part is interesting, I guess. And I've also watched the first episode of Apocalypse Hotel. So there's that. There's a bunch more films that I wish I could watch, but I just don't have time. Hopefully I'll get around to it next month. So have you watched these? Comments below, let me know if you want more, and thanks for watching.